The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good morning, good afternoon, everybody, wherever you might be in the world. Can everybody hear me? If you could just type into chat, you can hear me. That would be great. Make sure that I can be heard. That would be fantastic. So, is anybody able to hear me? I'm not seeing anything here. Okay, so we got a few key people on the call here. So let's go ahead and get started. So welcome to the weekly call. More clients, more results. Today's Thursday, March 24th, where I am in the world. It's probably Wednesday where everybody else is in the world. So usually we're going to do these calls on what would be Friday my time. I'm in Australia, and what would be Thursday for the rest of the world, or most of the rest of the world. So we've changed it around a little bit this week just because of Easter and the holidays and stuff like that. So the way we're going to do this is, if you have any questions, and the goal of this call is to get your questions answered. So there's a few ways you can do this. Then you can either email them to me ahead of time if you come up with them during the week, and if I can answer them briefly through email, then I will. If not, we can go into more detail on the call. You can ask your questions in chat as we go along, or you can just email me as we go along. I've got my email box open on another screen here, so the email comes in pretty much immediately, and I'll answer them as we go as well. So the purpose of these calls is to get your questions answered, and it might be a 5 or 10 minute call, it might be a 3-hour call, who knows. So we'll stay on the call for just as long as we need to get all of your questions answered. So I see we've got a few people here. We've got Brown, we've got Nick, Ed's here, Rob's here. There's a few more people that have registered that haven't shown up yet, but we'll go ahead and get started. These calls will be recorded, hopefully with all without any, there's no technical difficulty, and I'll post them into the call recording area as well. So if you get a question answered and you want to refer back to it, then you can just go back and look at the call recording. So I'll try to get these calls posted within 24 hours or so. So let's go ahead and get started. So I've got a few questions that have been emailed to me already, so we'll go ahead and start with those. If you have any questions that you particularly want answering, like I say, go ahead and email them to me as we go, or you can go ahead and type them into chat. I see we've got a few more people joining the call as we're going along. So just to recap there, if you've got questions, you can email them to me as we go. That way I'm definitely going to see them, because I've got my email screen open on another screen here, or put them in chat. Sometimes I miss them there because if there's too many questions, then it's a very small chat screen and they just disappear. So let's start with a few questions that have been emailed to me this week, and then we'll open it up to questions here if anybody has any. So the questions I've been emailed this week that I'll go ahead and cover. I got one from Nick today. It looks like Nick's here on the call with us. So Nick, your question was, what do I do here? So you've sent the quick question email out, and you've got this response back: I'd be willing to pay a fair fee for patients who schedule surgery, not just for leads. Thank you, Steve. So that's a great question, and that's a response that you're going to get from time to time. So there's a couple of ways that you can deal with this. The way personally that I deal with it is that I just look at this as an invitation for a conversation, right? So I really don't try to flesh out the details of the agreement or the deal that we're going to make through email or anything like that. So my goal always is to get people on the phone, to get people into a consultation. So there's a couple of ways you can structure a deal with somebody if it makes you more comfortable. And one of the ways you can do it in this particular situation would be you could actually work for a percentage of the patients that you generate. So the way that I would do that personally is I would charge probably either a $5,000 or a $10,000 one-time setup fee, depending on how big the practice is and how lucky you're feeling with them, basically. And then I would work on typically a 25% commission for patients generated. So we don't want to go into that too much right now. If you respond to this guy and he says, yeah, I'd be interested in doing that, then we can look at more how you would structure a deal like that. But I've got several clients where I've charged them $5,000, $10,000 as a one-time setup fee, and then I'm working with them anywhere from, I've experimented with it, so the most I've got I think is 30%, the least is 15%, and typically I would charge 25% on a deal like that now. So that's one way to do it. The other way to do it is just not really worry about what he's saying there too much. Just get him on the phone. So if you can get him on the phone, then you can start to explain your value to him and explain your service. And again, the way I look at it is nothing ventured, nothing gained, right? If you get this guy on the phone and he says, I'm not interested at all, then it's just not a problem. It doesn't matter because you haven't got his business now anyway. So that's how I would do that. So I would reply back and I would say, thanks for getting back to me, Steve. Sounds good. Love to jump on the phone with you to discuss this in a little bit more detail. And then, like I said, have in the back of your mind, if he's going to insist on just paying for patients, then I would go with 25% of gross revenue basically as a fee plus a one-time setup fee. So you're going to do pretty well out of it either way. So hopefully that answers your question. If it doesn't, then go ahead and put it in chat that you would like some more explanation, and I'll see what I can do. So the next question is from Ed, and that's the question is, how soon should I be following up? So there's not really a hard and fast rule to that. Generally, it depends on how busy I am personally. If it's one of those tasks where if I've got a few hours free in the afternoon, then I'll go through and I'll do a whole bunch of follow-up, and if I'm super busy, then it might take me a little bit longer to get to it. So typically the answer to that question is going to be, I would give them anywhere from 2 days to, I've followed up to a month later. Sometimes I just get really busy and forget to follow up. Now follow-up is really important, and we should all be doing that. So I would say 80% of your business is probably going to come through the follow-up process. So you definitely want to be following up, and you want to be following up to every message. So when you send the first message, the quick question message, if I could send you clients for a small commission, when you send that message, generally I follow that up anywhere from sort of 3 days, 2 days, 3 days to maybe a week later, and if I get really busy, even longer than that. All of that's going to be fine, and I would follow that up probably 2 times. So I would send the email, hey so-and-so, just check, I haven't heard from you, just check in to see that you received my last email. Leave it at that, and I would send that email 2 or 3 times, definitely 2 times before giving up on it. And then I would send that message after every stage of the process as well. So if you send the quick question message and they don't respond, send the follow-up a couple of times. Hey, just checking to see you received my email. Send that 2 times, maybe 3 times. If they don't respond, then mark it as dead, count it as a dead lead. If they do respond, then obviously you go through the process, and every time the process starts to slow down or seems like it's stopped, then you send that same follow-up 2 or 3 times. And generally speaking, you might need to send that follow-up email, which is, hey, haven't heard from you, just checking to see you received my email. You might need to send that maybe 4 or 5 times during the whole process to get a sale. So the money really is in the follow-up for sure. You definitely want to be following up, and you really don't want to assume that the lead is dead or they're not interested just because they haven't responded. So hopefully that answers your question, Ed. So 2 days to a week would be typical if I was actually thinking about it. So now I've got this question from probably 3 people, I think, this week, a suggested reading list, and I love this question because it just shows that people are serious about what they're doing. So studies have shown that there's a direct correlation between the level of success somebody has and the amount of books that they read, and the level of income that they have and the amount of books they read. I think the average American reads less than 1 book a year. The average CEO of a Fortune 500 company reads a book a week. So the fact that people are asking about reading lists and stuff like that is making me really excited that I've got the right kind of people in this training. So here's a list of books that are just indispensable for me that I think are, fantastic books. So the first one is Influence by Robert Cialdini. Now this pretty much is, it's the ethereal work on how to influence people and sales really. So if most people are probably familiar with this, but if you're not familiar with it, Robert Cialdini was a professor at the University of Phoenix, I think it was, the University of Arizona rather. he wanted to do a study on con men, basically, just so he could give people some information on how to defend themselves against some typical cons out there. And he did this study that came up with 7 principles of influence that were present in a lot of the cons that were going on. So he breaks down the principles that are used, that con men were actually using to get people to fall for their cons. And his whole purpose was to arm people against cons and scams and stuff like that. But basically what he ended up doing was producing one of the greatest marketing books ever written. So he comes up with 7 principles of influence that are generally present when influence is being transferred and decisions are being made. And if you can take these 7 principles and apply them to your business, or even if you can take 1 or 2 or 4 or 5 and apply them to your business, you're going to get a lot better results. It's if you could only read one book on marketing, this would probably be the one that I would recommend. The next one is As a Man Thinketh by James Allen, and that's a fantastic little book. It's very short. It's probably, you can read it from cover to cover in probably 45 minutes, and it's kind of more mindset stuff like that. Basically, as the title says, as a man thinketh, so he is. A lot of your results in the real world start inside, internally, and what you see on the outside world is merely a reflection of the internal state. So dealing with what's going on inside and dealing with your thought process and stuff like that is an indispensable part of the whole business process. So the more we can come to terms with our thinking and the more we can come to terms with our mindset, then just the better results we're going to get across the board. And this is it's a really short, really concise book that's amazing. Basically, everybody should read it, and you can download it for free all over the place now. You don't even have to buy it. The next book is Tested Advertising Methods by John Caples, and I'm really big on copywriting personally. So to me, business is all about great copy, great copywriting. If you've got great copy, you've got great messaging and stuff like that, then it's going to be really, really easy. So basically, you just need to be able to successfully communicate what it is you've got to say to somebody else. And Tested Advertising Methods by John Caples is a book that really boils that down in a very concise, very precise way, and it's a fantastic book on copywriting and advertising in general. The next one is Triggers by Joe Sugarman. Awesome book. I think it's 30 triggers that trigger the buying response in people. So obviously, again, as with influence, if we can take a handful of those triggers and we can start to incorporate them into our sales process, then we're going to start to see some really, really good results. If you can take even more than that, I think he gives 30, and you can take 10 or 15 of them and start to incorporate them into your sales presentations and stuff. Like I say, it's fantastic results for you. Next one is Magic Words That Bring You Riches by Ted Nicholas. I think he's called that book different things at different times. Magic Words That Grow Your Business, Magic Words That Bring You Riches. But Ted Nicholas is one of the world's top copywriters. So pretty much anything you can get your hands on from Ted Nicholas is going to help you immensely grow your business. So I've bought a few audio courses from him, from Nightingale Conant. They're, you can get them on eBay for next to nothing, $30, $40. If that's how you like to learn. He's got some seminars that he's recorded that are available very inexpensively as well for the same price, $30, $40 on eBay, stuff like that. So anytime you can study a great copywriter, and I think Ted Nicholas has produced over $1 billion in sales to this date from directly related to his copy. Anytime you can study somebody that's got those kind of results, then I would highly advise doing it, and Ted Nicholas is one of the best for sure. The next one is the Dan Sullivan Question, and that's obviously by Dan Sullivan, and that's a sales book. So really this is kind of when it comes to holding an effective sales consultation, there's a lot of ways you can do it, but this is a really, really good one. So again, this is a book that it's really quite short. You can read it from cover to cover in about 45 minutes. I've read this book probably 20 times this year already. It's a really fantastic little book for how to get the most out of a sales consultation. So if that's something that you're looking for, how to become more effective in the sales consultation and how to turn more of your prospects and more of your leads into sales, and this is going to be an absolute must-read book. So highly recommend that one. And then the last book that I would recommend, and I would recommend more really, but this is there's going to be some books on this list for everybody that they haven't read for sure, so we could go on and on, but I'm going to stop with this last one. It's 80-20 of Sales and Marketing by Perry Marshall. So in this book he essentially summarizes that the 80-20 rule is, I'm sure everybody's familiar with the 80-20 rule. 80% of the wealth is held by 20% of the people, 80% of the business is held by 20% of the businesses, so on and so forth. So this is a great little book for really increasing your revenue dramatically, because the same is true for your client base. 80% of the revenue that you generate within your business is going to come from 20% of your client base. So once you understand that and you're able to really zero in on the 20% that's producing 80% of your revenue, then you can really start to get some focus on what areas to grow your business. And of course then we can look at the 80-20 of the 80-20. So of the 80% of revenue that's generated from 20% of your client base, we can then do an 80-20 on that as well. So you're going to find typically that you'll have a handful of people within your business, a handful of clients in your business that maybe are spending $100,000 a year with you, and then the vast majority are spending $1,500, $2,000, something like that possibly. But once you identify who the 80-20 are of your clients, then you can focus in on them, and it's a great book. It's also good for streamlining your operation and 80-20 of efficiency, stuff like that. So that's the reading list that I would recommend for people that are really serious, and I think all of these books are going to produce revenue and bottom line into your business. They're all going to produce money, which is what it's all about ultimately. So the next question is from Rob, and Rob's asking, what's a normal conversion rate for consultations in the Google Display Network? So I've been working with Rob on putting some Google Display campaigns together, and this is a little bit more advanced question. So he's asking, what kind of conversion rate should you have for people going into consultation? So we're working with Rob in the dental industry. So typically, Rob, we're getting anywhere from normal range would be anywhere from, I'd say, 0.75% all the way up to, if you're doing really well with it, 1.5%. Anything in that range is going to be normal. There's going to be days where you're going to see maybe 2 or 3% conversion rates, and there's going to be days when you see very, very low conversion rates. But you want to use at least a 30-day sample of data to figure this stuff out. So you don't want to be measuring it on a daily basis, because it's going to vary vastly on a day-to-day basis. But over a 30-day, or even better, a 60 or 90-day period, then you should be looking at anywhere from 0.75% conversion rate for people actually going into consultations, all the way up to possibly about 1.5% in the campaigns that it's doing really, really brilliantly well. So hopefully that answers your question. But for everybody, when you're running these campaigns, like I say, a good point here is that you want to run a large enough date range to make sure that your data is accurate, make sure that it's statistically relevant. If you're using too short of a date range to decide your conversion rates, then you're going to get statistically irrelevant information, and it's going to skew your campaign. So I would say you're looking at a minimum of 30 days, ideally 90-day measuring period to really get an accurate measurement of data. So let's have a look at any more questions. So that's the last question that I've got from emails. I've just got a question come in, it looks like from Shane. It's come in by email, so let's have a quick look at this. So Shane's question is, in one of your videos you mentioned you would share some of your campaigns as well. Is that true? Just clarifying. Yeah, absolutely, Shane. So happy to do that with you. If we can do that next week, if you want, I can. If you send me an email specifically, so I've got some dental campaigns. I've got some dental campaigns would be good ones, because I've got a lot of those. So more than happy to share with you a campaign. So is it specifically the AdWords side you're looking at, or are you looking at the whole sales funnel? Do you want to see it from the landing page to the whole process that they go through the whole sales funnel? So just send me an email what you'd like to see, and then next week I'll be sure to do that. I'll show you whatever it is that you're looking. So yeah, 100% willing to share some of my campaigns with you. That's going to help you out a lot. So just got another question. Got a question just come in from Nick here, so let's have a quick look at this. So the question is, if you go for a percentage of surgery booked model, how do you monitor the leads that turn into surgeries? Do you just trust the surgeon will accurately track the leads and tell you the truth? So basically that is the case, yes. You don't really have too many other options than that. So this is why you want to charge an upfront fee. So you want to get your fee regardless of if they turn into cases or not. So that's why I say $10,000 or $9,500 as a setup fee, or at least. So I would want at least 3 months. So if you're charging $1,500, Nick, then 3 months revenue there is going to be 4,500, right? So I would want at least 3 months of revenue from that deal guaranteed. So I would look at charging $5,000, so $4,995 upfront setup fee, and then excuse me, 25% or so, whatever you're comfortable with. I would start at 25% as a negotiation point. And then if they pay you, it's a bonus. If they don't, they don't. So generally speaking, what happens when you actually talk to the doctor and you tell them that you're willing to work on a percentage, they change their mind very quickly, because the only reason that he's asking you, or the only reason that he's saying right now that he's only willing to pay a percentage of patients that book into surgeries, is because he doesn't believe you. You haven't done enough yet, or we haven't done enough to credentialize ourselves as a trustworthy expert that's telling the truth. So he's basically trying to reverse his risk. So he's saying, I'm interested in what you've got to say, but at this point in time, there's too much risk on the table for me to do this. So really, there's only 2 reasons why somebody would say no to you. If you're targeting the right people, and your offer is authentic and legitimate, and it speaks to their deepest needs, there's only 2 reasons that somebody would say no to you, Nick, and that's they don't trust you, or they don't believe you, or a combination of both. So by flipping this around and saying, yep, absolutely fine, 100%, I'm willing to work on a commission-only basis, then you're essentially knocking that I don't believe you out of the mark. You're knocking it out of the park, really. So it's very hard for them not to believe you if you're saying, if you don't win, I don't get paid. If I don't get you results, I don't get paid. It makes it very hard. So sorry, the 2 reasons that they would say no is they don't believe you, or they don't trust you. One, same thing. Or there's too much risk. The second reason is there's too much risk on the table. So basically, he's saying a little bit of both. He's saying, I don't really believe you, and there's too much risk, but I like your offer. So yeah, by offering the percentage deal, then you're reversing his risk down to very little, and it's kind of addressing the trust issue as well. It's going to be very, very difficult for him not to trust you if you're willing to work on a percentage. And as I say, I've had this quite a few times, and when you say to the doctor, yeah, 100% willing to work on a percentage, it will be 25% of the revenue that you generate, and they go, well, that's going to be $10,000 a month. You go, yep, absolutely. Then they say, well, how about we start out on a fee and we go from there? So worth getting on the phone with him is what I would say. Like I said, the goal is always to get on the phone and to just start the conversation. Where the conversation goes once it's started, it could go anywhere. So the next question that Nick's got, so hopefully that answers that question, Nick. Just shoot me another email if it doesn't, and I'll clarify some more. Other than working books, how do you actively work on your mindset? Do you practice rituals that you do on a daily basis? You know what, I do. I definitely do. So that's a good question. So basically I use sort of, I wouldn't necessarily call it visualization techniques, but I start with the end goal in mind, right? So every day, or not every day, but weekly, I'll write down where I want to be at the end of the week. So at the start of the week, all right, by the end of this week, I would like to have generated X amount of revenue. I would like to have signed up 20 clients, 2 clients, whatever. I would like to have achieved A, B, C, and D. And I write that down at the beginning of the week, and then I put that on a board in front of me, or just a piece of paper with blue tack behind it in front of me, and I'm looking at that every day. So then every day, that's the end goal for the week. Every day I take out another sheet of paper and I just write at the top, what do I need to do today to achieve my end goal? And then I write down the tasks that I need to do to become to line up with the end result at the end of the week. And you can do this for longer periods of time too. You can you need to do this on a yearly basis as well, 5-year basis, 10-year basis, stuff like that. So you want much longer goals out into the future, and then you've just got to believe basically that you're going to achieve those results. So basically, for me, I know from experience that generally speaking, what I write on that piece of paper is going to be achieved by the end of the week, as long as it's within reason, right? You can't put, I'm going to make $500 million by the end of the week. But if you write on, I know that if I write on that piece of paper, my goal this week is to generate an additional $20,000 worth of revenue, then I know from experience now that I'm probably going to generate an additional $20,000 worth of revenue. And as long as breaking it down on a daily basis and saying at the beginning of each day, what do I need to do to achieve this, then it's gonna help you move towards that. So we're looking at that a little bit in this next module in week 2 coming up. Actually, there's a series of questions that I ask myself at the beginning of the week that helps me to focus and helps me to get my mind in the right place. So one of the questions that I ask at the beginning of the week is, what is the best question I could ask myself this week? What is the most effective action that I can take this week to progress me towards my goal and stuff like that? So we're going to cover that a little bit more in the week 2 training. So hopefully that's helpful. The other thing that I do is I just believe that it's going to happen. It's about belief. People say, I believe it when I see it. Well, it's the other way around. When you believe it, you'll see it, right? So you've got to believe with unfailing faith. And I don't want to get too spiritual on these calls or anything like that. So, but it's about faith, really. It's about having faith in yourself and having faith in your ability to get the result. And if you've got unwavering faith and you practice that faith, then you're going to get the results quite often, more often than not, that's for sure. So I've got another question from Nick here. So other than reading books and connecting and messaging prospects on LinkedIn, what else would you recommend to set up success in the accelerated process? So direct mail is the answer to that question. So again, we're going to cover some stuff coming up in week 2, and it's all going to become quite clear to you. So we're going to look at messaging and stuff like that. Once you get your message dialed in and sorted out, then it really doesn't matter what medium you use, whether it's LinkedIn, whether it's email marketing, whether it's Facebook, whether it's Twitter, Instagram, Google AdWords, telemarketing. It doesn't matter. Once you get your message dialed in, and this is why I've given copywriting books and stuff like that, is because refining your message is what it's all about. And once you get that, then any method you want to use is going to be successful. So the 2 methods that I use that are very successful right now are LinkedIn messaging and direct mail. And the reason that I like those 2 very specifically is that both allow us to target the decision maker directly. So with LinkedIn, we're able to identify who the decision maker is, and we're able to get the message to them directly. And the same is true with direct mail. With a little bit of research, just a Google search, if you just I don't want to give away your niche. So if you Google my niche in Miami, my niche in New York, or whatever, it's going to bring you a list of practices that you could potentially target, and then just look at the website. You're going to find who the principal in that practice is, and you're going to be able to target them directly. So direct mail allows you to target the prospect directly. The LinkedIn allows you to target the prospect directly. So that's why I really like those 2. That's much harder to do with like Google AdWords or Facebook ads. It's kind of like, it's more of a shotgun approach as opposed to the sniper rifle approach that we're using. So hopefully that answers your question there. Just send me another email if it doesn't. So let's see if we've got any more questions here. So I think that answers all of the questions that we've got here. So as I say, Shane, we've got Shane's got a question. So if you could email me that, Shane, a little bit more specific detail, and like I say, I'll get that set up for you next week. I might even send you an email with some links to some stuff if I can find some stuff that's helpful to you to have a look. And that's it. So that's all the questions. Oh, no, we've got another question here from Nick. So question 4 is, if you go for a percentage-based surgery booked model and charge a 5K setup fee, do you still offer a satisfaction guarantee? So you can if you have to, basically. If you have to is the answer. So you don't want to you want to keep the guarantee in your bag of tricks as something to push them over the line if they're interested, but they're umming and ahhing. So again, it's like the two reasons they wouldn't buy from you is because A, they don't believe you, or B, there's too much risk. So if you're offering a percentage-based model, then it makes it very hard for them not to believe you, because you just say, hey, look, if you don't make money from this, I don't get paid. I'm not a charity. I'm not doing this because I'm a nice guy. I'm doing it to make money ultimately, and if the only way I'm going to get paid is if you make money on this, and if you don't make any money, then I don't make any money, then it's very hard not to believe that you're telling the truth, right? It's very hard not to believe that. So that kind of takes care of the I don't believe you issue. You've still got the risk issue on the table, because obviously you don't want to just do it on a flat out percentage basis. And to be honest, I have done it just on a flat out percentage basis, no setup fee. And it's not that I don't believe it's going to work, and I don't believe I'm going to get paid any money, so I've got to have the $5,000. The problem is when you don't charge anything at all up front to a client, they have no investment in the process, and getting them to do stuff is like pulling teeth. So you'll work a lot harder to get the result, and their investment in the result will be much, much less. So the reason for the $5,000 is to get some skin in the game from them, so you know that they're going to get when you send them an email telling them that they need to do A, B, C, and D, they're going to do it promptly. If they've got no skin in the game, if they've got no investment in it, then they're not going to have any skin in the game at all, and it's going to be very difficult to get their cooperation. So one way you can approach it is you can offer, I would offer a money-back guarantee contingent on the fact that they actually conform to your request, right? So they've got to do what you ask them to do. So another problem with this is that I've had with dentists on a percentage basis is that the receptionists don't want to make the phone calls, right? So you send them a whole bunch of leads, and the receptionists don't want to follow up. So because there's no incentive for them, you've just given them extra work without any extra pay. So that creates a problem. So they'll say the leads are rubbish, when the problem actually is that the receptionists are just not following up because they've got no incentive. So you can say, I'll give you 100, so it's $5,000 setup fee, that's 100% money back guaranteed on the basis that you actually perform the tasks that you're supposed to perform. So with the dentist, for me now, when I'm on a percentage basis, I say each lead has to be followed up a minimum of 5 times before it can be considered dead. So when I say followed up 5 times, you have to call them 5 times without a response before you can say they're non-contactable, because what will happen, what you'll find is that you'll send the lead to the practice, the dentist, or I know you're not in the dental niche, but I'm just using that so I don't give away your niche. The receptionist will send an email saying, hey, we got an inquiry from you. They'll never get a response, and they'll call that lead dead. So now you're generating, a whole bunch of leads, and they're not being followed up, so that the business is not making any money, so you're not getting a fee. So my deal with the dentist now is you have to follow that lead up 5 times, and you have to document that you followed it up 5 times. And we have some processes to put in place that shows that they have followed that lead up 5 times. And if any of the leads haven't been followed up 5 times, because all you need, I mean, you're in a fairly lucrative niche, right? I mean, all they need is one or two clients each month, and they're going to make a ton of money. So if you send them 30 inquiries and they don't follow just one of them up properly, that one might be the one that makes them $10,000-$15,000. So they've got to demonstrate that they've followed every single inquiry up properly. And if they haven't done that, then that voids the guarantee. Now, of course, there's no way they're going to follow them all up properly. So really, it's not a guarantee at all, because I know for a fact that they're not going to do it. But it does reverse the risk issue, which is why they would be saying no at this point. Like I say, the 2 issues is they don't believe you, or there's too much risk. So we're kind of hitting that I don't believe you out of the park. We're dealing with that objection. And if we can offer the guarantee, then that that's going to reduce the risk significantly for them as well, and you'll find that it's much easier to get them to go ahead. So hopefully that answers your question. Let me know if you need clarification. Brian's got a question here. Let's see what Brian's question is. Okay, yeah, sorry, I'm not seeing anything in chat, Brian. I don't know why that is. So Brian's saying his questions are not coming through, but I've got them here. So let's answer those for you. Sorry about that, Brian. So how do you handle telling people about your fee and then telling them about additional traffic costs? I'm not including the traffic costs in my pricing when they ask how much does it cost. I kind of feel like I'm deceiving them. So basically, they don't care about the traffic cost. They don't care about the management fee. All they care about is the end result. So the way I handle it is basically when somebody asks me how much do I charge, I'll say, we'll get to that in just a second. I'm happy to talk about that, but before I can give you the accurate price, just how much would you like to generate in additional revenue each month? So I get them to give me that number. So if they say an additional $40,000 in revenue, which would be realistic for the niche that you're in for sure. These guys are definitely going to be wanting to generate $40,000, $50,000 a month in revenue. So they'll say, you get them to give you the number, the $40,000 or whatever it is, and then I'll say, okay, so based on what we're doing with our other clients, typically we're going to be able to get a 10-to-1 return on ad spend for you. That's typical. So sometimes it's better, sometimes it's worse. Sometimes we get a 5-to-1 return, sometimes we get a 15-to-1. It varies a little bit, but a typical return is 10-to-1. So for every $1 you spend with me, we produce $10 in revenue. So based on the fact that you're telling me you'd like to produce an additional $40,000 revenue, then we're looking at approximately a $4,000 per month fee to do that. So and then I'll ask them, does a 10-to-1 return on your investment sound realistic to you? Does that sound reasonable? So 10-to-1 is a great return, right? So nobody's going to say, no, that's not good enough. That's a good return. So for them at this point to turn around and say that a $4,000 fee for a $40,000 return is unrealistic or unreasonable, then they're the ones that are being unreasonable. So then out of that 4,000, then I just break that down to them. So I say, look, you'd be looking at roughly a $4,000 a month total investment. So that's going to break down. There's two elements to that. There's the actual cost that goes directly to Google or Facebook or whatever traffic source you're using, and there's a management aspect to that as well. So I just tell them, I say, with the actual ad spend itself, you just add your billing details to Google or you add your billing details to Facebook, and that's just handled directly. We don't take any percentage of that whatsoever. That goes directly to Google. So in this case, I would say I would look to take probably a $1,500 management fee on that, and then I would put $2,500 towards ad spend. So I'd say of that $4,000 fee, the majority share of it is going directly to Google, which we get no percentage of whatsoever. We don't get a commission on that. We don't get a kickback on that. That's billed directly to Google, and you pay that directly to Google, and then the $1,500 covers the management fee, the hosting, the call tracking, all of that kind of stuff. There's some expense involved on our end in delivering that. So that's how I would break that down. So you just get them to acknowledge that it's going to be a $4,000 total investment to get a $40,000 return. So if they said $30,000, then obviously you're going to bring that fee down a little bit, and you're going to say, well, you're looking at probably about a $3,000 a month total investment. So ultimately their only concern is that total monthly investment versus the return that they're going to get. And you want to get them thinking in terms of that, not necessarily how the fees are broken down. So to be honest, Brian, I've never had an issue with it. It's like no one's ever come back and said that's outrageous. Nobody's ever called me out on that or questioned it. So it's not really a problem you're going to face, I don't think. So we've got another question from Brian here. Let's have a look. Had a call, asked me, send him a simple contract outlining my services and the guarantee. Happy to do that. Offer him a 30-day guarantee for my fees. What's your feedback? All right, so yep, we can do that. So that's reasonable. So basically, you want that to be a sales letter, right? So I've got a proposal slash contract slash sales letter that I send out. So when people ask for this, and you will get some people ask for it, obviously they say, you know, it sounds good, I want to go ahead and do this, I just need to see something in writing, I just need to see something outlining what the deliverables are. So I send them basically a sales letter at that point. You don't want to send them a proposal, you don't want to send them a legal document, you want to send them something that reminds them of what they're buying and why they're buying it, and then you kind of put the details in there as well. So in the deliverables, you would put something like whatever the major benefit is, whatever the outcome is of the solution that you're offering, right? So I'll shoot it over to you when we get off the call here, Brian. You know what I'm like. If I forget, send me an email. I'll send you a copy of what I use, and if anybody else would like a copy of that, then just shoot me an email as well. I do share that with you. I think we share it in it's later on in the training. You'll get it in the training anyway, but if you want to see a copy of that now, just shoot me an email and I'm happy to send that over to you. So basically every communication you send out needs to remind them of why they're hiring you, why they're purchasing your services. So you don't ever want to send out a bland document that's just like, you know, here's the technical details of what we're doing. It's got to be pretty much a sales letter. And like I said, I've got a document that's worked really well for me. I'll get that over to you after this call. So hopefully that answers your question. Shoot me another email if it doesn't. So another question from Shane. Hey, on next week's webinar, I'd definitely like to hear about a couple of campaigns you'd be willing to share for the dental attorney niche. And if there's time, I'd love to hear the setup process for the landing pages, conversion tracking, stuff like that. Yeah, we can do that for sure. Not a problem. It's all pretty straightforward stuff. So basically, as you're all well aware by now, I advocate being in one specific sub-niche within a niche. So for me, that would be dental implants at this point in time. So I use unbounce pages to host the landing pages, and the great thing about that is it's just got a one-click, so you can set up different clients within unbounce, and then it's literally just a one-click, so you can click on copy landing page to new client, and then it's just drag and drop. What you see is what you get. It's a WYSIWYG editor, basically just drag and drop. So once you've got one landing page set up for one client in unbounce, all you literally need to do is click copy landing page to new client, and then that page is copied to the new client. Click on edit within the new client and just change the phone number. That's it. Add the new call tracking, change the footer for the, you know, the links to the email, stuff like that, and that's it. It's literally it's not more than a 10-minute process to set all of that stuff up. It's really very easy. So again, what we're going for here is we're not just looking at getting clients on board with ease. We're looking at servicing them with ease as well, and we're looking for scalability. So it's well worth to have a piece of software like Unbounce Pages that allows you to do that, to where literally I've got a couple of new clients come on board this week, and I've got an hour set aside this afternoon where I'm going to set those two clients up. So basically it's going to take me an hour to set two clients up. I'll launch the campaign probably Monday for them, and that's it. That's pretty much all I'm going to do. You know, they're $1,500 a month each, so that's additional $3,000 a month in revenue coming in for me, and it's literally an hour to set it up. And then 15-20 minutes a week maintenance, just making sure that it's running smoothly. The most labor-intensive and time-consuming part of the whole process is actually the sales process. It's actually getting them on board. Once they're on board, then it becomes really very easy. So, yeah, happy to share that with you, Shane. Not a problem at all. We'll go through that 100%. But like I say, check out Unbounce pages if you're not using it. So, question from Nick. Nick said, you've answered my questions, thanks. Fantastic. Another question from Shane. Yep, shoot that document over. Yep, so that's basically what it is. It's what most people would call a proposal, but it's nothing like a proposal at all. So like I say, you want to, when somebody says, will you send me something, you want it needs to be a sales letter. You don't want to be sending just bland documentation. So even with even with email. So you want to, every time you communicate with somebody, you want to remind them of the benefit that you provide for them. So, for example, if you send an email to somebody, you want to start it out, hey Shane, regarding our conversation about generating you all of the SEO clients that you could ever possibly want, here's the information that you've requested. So you want to start out reminding them of the big benefit that you're going to deliver them. So if the information's a little bit bland, so you might be asking, so say, you know, hey Cody, on the phone we talked about a guarantee, can you put that in writing and send it over to me please? So in this situation you'd say, hey Shane, in regards to helping you generate all of the SEO clients that you could ever want at a much higher fee than you're currently charging, that's how you start that email out. So you then you get into the, because they may just look at the guarantee or the technical information that they're asking for, and it doesn't fire anything in their imagination, it doesn't inspire them. So if you can inspire them again at the beginning of the email or at the beginning of the proposal by saying, here's the massive benefit that you're going to get, oh by the way, this is 100% guaranteed as well, then that's considerably more powerful and more evocative in their mind than just saying, here's the guarantee for what we talked about, because they've probably forgotten what you talked about, to be honest. And definitely the excitement that they had on the call has dissipated a little bit. So by reminding them at the beginning, before you give them the guarantee or before you offer the proposal, then it just gets them excited again, and then whatever it is you're sending them reinforces that it's a good deal. So I know that's not what you really asked, but that kind of carries on from what we were talking about, and yes, I'll shoot that over to you, no problem whatsoever. It's a question from Nick here. Question: I'm trying to connect with lots of a group on LinkedIn. Only a small percentage are connecting with me. I can relatively easily find out some of their email addresses that don't connect, but it makes sense to send them an email message saying connect on LinkedIn. Yeah. So that's a good point. Have a quick drink here. My throat's a little bit dry. Realistic expectations is the key to this. So it's going to be a very small percentage that connect with you, right? So if you're expecting, so here's some realistic numbers, right? So if you make a connection request, just click connection request, friend, send, whatever, just your standard connection request to 50 people, 60 people, maybe 5 to 10 will actually connect with you. Not very many are going to actually connect with you, right? It's going to be relatively low numbers. So that's why, you know, I say you need to be doing 20 to 30, making 20 to 30 connection requests a day, ideally, because you do have to connect with quite a few people to get the results. So out of the, let's say you connect with 50 people or attempt to connect with 50 people, you send 50 requests, maybe 10 of those are actually going to respond, are actually going to connect with you. Then out of those 10 that connect, you send the quick question message to, maybe 3 of them are going to respond to that. So 1 in 3 probably are going to respond to that. And then out of those 3, probably realistically 1 of those is going to become a client, right? So in order to get 1 client, you probably need to be sending 50 to 60 contact requests. So that's why I say 20 to 30 a day is a good number if you're looking for a couple of new clients a week. You know, that's going to get you there. So having those expectations makes it easier to deal with, because you know that it's working. The temptation is, you know, you send out a whole bunch of connection requests and you don't get a great response and you just think it's not working. But hey, that's marketing across the board, right? If you sent out a direct mail, you'd be looking, just a standard direct mail like everybody does, you'd be looking at a 1% response would be considered a good response rate. 2% response rate would be stellar for just a standard direct mail. You run ads on Facebook, you get a 0.5% click-through rate. So your response rate is going to be quite low. That's just all there is to it. So there's a certain amount of volume that we need to push through. And it's like I got friends that are kind of trying to do what I'm doing, but they're not getting the results, and they're always questioning me, thinking I've got some secret sauce or something like that, or I've got some superpower, and it's just not true. Yeah, I tell them the only thing that I'm doing the same thing that you're doing, probably more or less. The only thing that I'm doing is I'm doing a lot more of it. And that's really the difference. The only difference between what I'm doing and what you're doing, or what I'm doing and what the person I'm talking to that's asking me about it is, I'm just simply doing a lot more of it. I understand that I've got to contact 60 people to get one sale, so I'm happy to do that. I'll happily contact 120, 130 people a week, and I don't get discouraged when the response rate is very low. I don't think it's not working. But to answer your specific question here, would you send them an email? Then yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So as you say, just send them just a basic email saying, hey, reached out to you on LinkedIn, didn't get a response, and maybe you're not active on LinkedIn. I got a quick question for you. Would you be interested in yada, yada, yada? Off you go. So absolutely, I don't know what the laws are like in your part of the world. I know in Australia that would be illegal for us to do. We can't send unsolicited cold email. Texas might be a little bit different. I know that they've got other people on the call from other parts of the world, people from Canada, people from the UK. So I know in the UK you can send unsolicited email if it's relevant to the business. I'm not sure about Canada. Not sure. I think it's legal in the US. So if you can do it, absolutely. Look, here's my philosophy, Nick. If you've got nothing to lose by doing it, and you've got something to gain potentially by doing it, and it doesn't cost you anything to do it, go for it. That's my philosophy. If there's something to gain potentially by doing it and there's no cost associated, do it. Nothing to lose. So another question from Shane here. Let's have a look. Yep, Shane's saying he's got it. Fantastic. So let's have a look. So let me just, yeah, it's kind of hard for me to monitor chat and manage everything else at the same time. So if you've got questions, probably the best way is to send this. I'm not seeing any questions in chat. Oh, okay, hang on a second. Okay, I'm seeing your questions now, Brian. So let me run through this. There's a few more questions from Brian here. Sorry about this, guys. I was looking in the wrong area. So I have questions. Yep, ask your questions, Brian. If it's outside the scope, no problem. Do you monitor the leads that turn into? Okay, we've answered that question by Nick there. I've got a sweet info sheet from WordStream that shows averages for a bunch of industries that I'm happy to share. Yeah, fantastic. Brian's offering some information there, so always happy to get stuff like that. Shane says, got it. Yep, so simple contract, that's Brian. Yep, we've answered that question, I think. Percentage-based deal. Yep, we've answered that from Nick. Do you notice any difference in results when messaging during the day versus at night, like having a VA in other parts of the world that seem to message? No, to be honest, it's like I'm in Australia, which is like the worst time zone in the world. It's like it's not even, may as well be Mars, right? So it couldn't be more inconvenient, really, being in Australia. So the answer to that question is not really. To be honest, it probably works in your favor being on the other side of the world or having a VA do it, because you don't want to respond bam, 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 because there's a certain amount of desperation in that. So if you can make somebody wait 12 hours, 24 hours for a response, then again, coming back to expert positioning, an industry leader isn't sitting there responding to emails immediately. For example, I know you've worked with Frank Kern, Brian, so you wouldn't get a response from Frank Kern within minutes, really. It would take you probably a day, and it will probably be his VA that responds to the query, unless you're just a super high-end client with him. So part of the expert positioning is being somewhat unavailable. You want to make your availability a bonus for your more exclusive clients. So by being somewhat unavailable, by sending messages at different times where making them wait 12 hours, 24 hours for the response, sometimes it can definitely work in your favor as far as your expert positioning goes. So no, I wouldn't worry about that too much. And in fact, I would almost wait a little bit before replying, at least 5 or 6 hours. How do you handle people telling you about their fee and then about the additional traffic costs? So yeah, again, so lump it all in together, right? So people, I say, well, we've kind of answered that, but people understand that there's the traffic costs are there. People understand that. They're not dumb. They get it. So it's just never been a problem. And just explain it to them. Like I said, really, if you got any problems with that, then you know, shoot me a message and we can run through it on Skype again if you want to, something like that. Do you have top 2 to 3 7 issues of a dental attorney that you'd like to do PPC for? So that's Brian. So, oh, sorry, that's Shane. Shane's asking, do you have top 2 to 3 7 issues within dental and attorney that you like to do PPC for? Yep, I do. So dental is, I like the two good ones with dental are going to be, well, I've got 4 dental campaigns, right? And I'll explain them to you very quickly. So I've got a dental implant campaign, I've got an orthodontics campaign, I've got a general dentistry, and I've got an emergency dental. All of them work really, really well. So the problem you're going to have, the orthodontics and the implants is where the money is for the dentist. That's what they're interested in, but it's also a very long sales cycle for them. So they might have to wait 3 to 6 months to see any kind of payment from a patient for orthodontics or for implants. So that's potentially a problem for you because they're going to run into cash flow issues potentially if they're paying out. You know, I've got an implant dentist who's spending 15 grand a month now, and if he was just starting out doing that, then he's going to run into some serious cash flow issues, because if he's got to wait 3 to 6 months before he sees any return on that, then he's potentially spent out $90,000 in ad spend before he sees the first dollar back from an implant case. So that's potentially a problem that we have to overcome. Same with orthodontics, right? The sales cycle on that is quite long, and it's generally in the form of payments as well, so they're not getting a lot of cash up front. So the way around that, and it's a real value add to dentists, and this works in the legal niche as well. So PI is the same, the sales cycle is very long, but they've got other products such as bankruptcy that turn over very quickly, right? So same concept in the legal niche. So what I'll do is I'll say, hey, look, let's go for the home run with the implant campaign. This is going to be the big money. This is what you want to do and where you want to go with your business. But realistically, we're going to run it. We're going to start to overtrade. We're going to run into some cash flow issues here, month 2, month 3, and unless you've got, you know, a sizable amount of cash that you're willing to put into it without necessarily seeing the cash upfront return initially, then we're going to start to have some issues there. So the way around that is if we run an emergency dental campaign alongside it, and of course emergency dental is going to cash flow immediately. So if somebody clicks on the ad, books an appointment, shows up at the office, you know, the practice, they've got a broken tooth or fillings fallen out or crown's broken, bridge is gone, something like that, they're going to swipe the credit card the same day, right? So that's going to help their cash flow a whole lot. So I say, look, we'll run the implant campaign as the home run, but you're looking at 3 to 6 months to really see the big return on that. So in the short term, we'll run an emergency dental campaign, which is going to help cash flow and ease the cash flow situation across the entire, you know, the whole, it's going to spread out the costs a little bit, and the same with general dentistry as well. So I say we'll run a general dentistry campaign with you. That's going to help to spread out the costs, and it's going to help with your cash flow issues as well. So when you can talk to them like this, it shows that you understand their business, and you're building that expert status, and you're offering something that nobody else is offering. So PI attorneys are getting approached every day, dental implant dentists are getting approached every day, but people are not talking to them like this. They're just making outrageous promises, backing it up with nothing and demonstrating no understanding of their business. When we present to an attorney, or when we present to a dentist like this, it shows that we actually understand their business, we understand their bottlenecks, we understand the problems that they're facing, we understand their cash flow, and we've devised a solution to help them through that. So you really are, you becoming indispensable to that business, really. You're not just a PPC service provider or an SEO service provider that can easily be marginalized and looked at as a service provider. You're now starting to become an advisor to that business, and it's much harder to marginalize a trusted advisor than it is to marginalize a PPC provider. Very easy as soon as there's a cash flow issue, right? The SEO guy's gone, the PPC guy's gone. But if you're viewed as an integral part of that business, as a trusted advisor who's actually helping them with their cash flow issues, not causing them cash flow issues, then they're going to be much more willing to pay a higher fee for you. B, you're going to get them the result that they're looking for. C, you're going to grow their business, and D, you're going to stick around. So so to answer your question specifically, yeah, for dental, then the sub-niches that I would look at would be orthodontics, implants, general dentistry, and emergency dentistry, with general dentistry being the lowest there. That would be the last one that I would offer. And with legal, I would say, the PI is going to be the home run. The personal injury is going to be your home run. That's the same as the dental implants. That's your big bucks. That's where they're going to make their real money, but you've got maybe a 12 to 18 month sales cycle there before they get paid. So if you can put something like bankruptcy is a brilliant one. The economy is not great anywhere right now, so if you can help attorneys generate bankruptcy cases, which are a dime a dozen, right? They're all over the place. Everybody's, not everybody, but a lot of people are going bankrupt. Then just because the economy is not great, then they're going to appreciate that, and they're pretty lucrative as well. And then divorce is another good one. A lot of people, obviously, there's always a demand for divorce. With the divorce rate being 50% in the Western world, there's always a demand for a divorce attorney. So those would be kind of the three sub-niches that I look at for legal. And you can use kind of the cash flow campaigns, as I call them, so the general dentistry, emergency dental, and the bankruptcy and divorce campaigns for attorneys. I use them as a limiter on the deal. So I'll say, look, your personal injury campaign is going to be $2,500 a month or whatever, management fee. We're just talking management fee now. I say, you can see that you really, to make this work, long-term sustainability, you're going to need that bankruptcy case. So normally we charge $1,000 a month to implement that bankruptcy campaign as well. So if you go ahead and if you want to make a decision today and tell me you're going to go ahead and you're willing to put down a payment on that today, I'll throw that bankruptcy campaign in there at no additional charge. But that's a one-time offer. That's only available today. If you come back tomorrow and tell me that you want to add the bankruptcy campaign tomorrow, then that's going to be it's going to be the regular $1,000 a month charge. So if we go ahead today, then your total cost for the two campaigns, the PI and the bankruptcy campaign, which is really essential to your success, will be $2,500 a month plus your ad spend. If you want to think about it and come back tomorrow, that's fine. But your fee for that tomorrow is going to be $3,500. And if they say why, if they question that, I just say, well, it just cuts me. I'm just not up for a bunch of chasing stuff. If you make a decision now, that means I don't have to chase it, and it's worth $1,000 to me to do that. So that'll get them. If they're serious, they'll want to do it at that point. If they're serious about moving forward, they're going to want that bankruptcy campaign, especially if you've set it up like that to where you're showing them that they really need it to make everything work for them. Cool. Hopefully that answers the question. So Brian says, I've submitted questions. Yep, got those. Yep, that's next question on satisfaction guarantee. Shane says perfect. Let's see here. So I think that's it. I'm not seeing any more questions here. Let's just double check. That looks like, oh, hang on, let's see. Yep, that looks like it for everybody. So I think I'm not seeing any more questions in my email. I'm not seeing any more questions in my chat. So hopefully that's been a beneficial call for everybody. Hopefully I've answered your questions there. So let me just make a quick note here before I jump off. So I'm going to be sending the proposal S document to a few people. Like I say, if I promised you that and you haven't got it within a day, I'm kind of struggling to keep up here. I've got a whole bunch of questions, and I've got all these questions in my mind. I'm not actually focused on who I'm sending emails to. So if you haven't received an email that I promised you with documents within a day, by the end of this day, go ahead and send me an email. I'm going to send it to you. I've just simply forgotten. That's all it is. So if anybody's got any questions, just put it in chat now. If not, then I think that concludes our call for today. Like I say, okay, is there a Facebook group for anybody? There isn't. That's a good idea though, Shane. I can set that up for sure. That's going to be that's a great idea right there. So I'll set that Facebook group up today or tomorrow, and we can share information within the Facebook group. Yeah, that's a good idea. I think that's going to be a a fantastic resource for everybody as well. So I'll go ahead and get that set up, and I'll send an invite out to everybody to join that Facebook group. So is that it for everybody? Anybody else got any any questions for me, or are we drawing to a close here? Cool. So it seems like everybody's done. Everybody's happy. So hopefully this has been recorded. Hopefully I'm not the most technically savvy person in the world when it comes to this stuff. I've got like 2 screens and a whole bunch of stuff going on in front of me, so I'm just trying to get through it at this point. So hopefully it's recorded. I'll post it in the call recording area, and we'll see it. It'll be Thursday for you guys. If you're in the US, Canada next week, we'll go back to a regular schedule. So try to give you as much time as possible to get the information implemented. And any problems in the meantime, shoot me an email. And best of luck, guys. Great prospect. Good job this week. Happy prospecting next week. Let's go out. Let's have some fun. Get some clients. Make some money. And let's all go live the dream. So we'll talk to you. We'll talk to you all very soon. Have a great week.